Okay. So, again, a warm welcome to all of the participants over here. Thank you for taking out your time and attending our last session of the masterclass for ODC. So, thank you for making this masterclass a successful one. And this is our first masterclass from Bangalore Art Systems Group. And based on the response for this masterclass, we are going to conduct much more in the future. So, as most of you already know, my name is Sri Lakshmanis. I'm working as an assistant manager in KPMG India. And if you need any clarification or if you wish to be a part of the any of the future events, wish to talk on any topic, wish to be a speaker, you can reach out to me on this LinkedIn, and also this is my email ID. And even if you have any clarification or any doubts related to any previous sessions or this current session or any out systems related topics, you can reach out to me. Yeah. So with that, I'll hand over the session to our speaker for the day, Pramod. So Pramod, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Sri Lakshmi. So, good afternoon, guys. Hello to everyone. Now, for today, we are going to have some advances in ODC. Definitely, we are not going in detail too much because we have a time limitations, and also the resources that we are using for these sessions are limited. But still, we will able to check how the integrations, how the advances are working in the ODC one. So, guys, for that one, before heading to the hands-on or the exercise type session, we'll first complete the theory part and we'll try to understand that how advances in the out systems ODCs are working and what are the plans for the future. These type of things that we're gonna see into the presentation. So let me share my screen. Yeah, guys. So I hope my screen is visible to you.
Yes,
Yeah.
Pramod.
Thank you. Thank you. So before heading towards, we'll give an idea about ODC, what are the advantages and what actually ODC is. So ODC is a cloud native platform where you can develop your application that provides you a modular, scalable environment in which to develop and deploy your application. Now here, the word scalable has an emphasis that our application, if it is increasing by the users or by the cause that we are getting to our application, so the application as it is the cloud native platform is going to be enlarged, and depending upon to the request that our application getting is going to be scalable. It goes scale up and scale down depending upon to the situation that are the requirements for our application right now going on. And through the ODC, we are able to build and deploy enterprise grade applications, mission critical applications in a week. So that is an advantage when it comes to faster development, a secure development that is provided by the ODC. Also, ODC builds a web page, web portals, mobile application, and business workflows faster than with the traditional development tools. When I was working as the React one, definitely I cannot compare the React and ODC or OutSystem here. But when we were following some traditional web developments, we have some limitations, or definitely we have some advantages to it. But when it comes to the faster development and to deploy our application as soon as possible earlier to the requirement of the client, ODC gives us an upper hand to the traditional web development tools. Also, by using the ODC, we can deploy our application as a scalable, secured, and high performance environment. Definitely, we're gonna see how it is secured and high performance environment. So that is the overall introduction of the ODC. Now let's come to the main part of our session, that is system integration. Now in the definition, we can see that it is a process of linking together different computing systems and software application. Those can be physically or functionally to act as a coordinated whole. Now the words having some emphasis which are shown into the blue color linking together means even though we are not in a complete application that is provided by the out system, we can utilize the functionalities that are already present or that are not part of our environment. So we what we can do is here by the system integration we can integrate multiple functionalities to our application. We can use the advantages of the already developed functionalities or those resources that are not part of our organization. And this is going to be in a development phase, but as a user is not going to know that we are using two different technologies or two different type of computing system. This output, the application is going to be look like a coordinated as a whole. But here if I want to describe it, the word linking together gives us an idea that the functionality that is already developed. For example, I have a functionality that is already developed. I do not want to develop. I do not want to newly create it into the out system environment, ODC environment. So what I can do is a application or a functionality that is already developed in .NET. I can use that functionality rather than creating it. I can integrate the functionality that is coming from the .NET. I can join it. I can hit with the ODC application and I can utilize the functionality that is already developed. Now we're gonna see how it is going to be done. So for that, there are two type of integrations available. First is built-in integration and another is the extension. Now, when it comes to the built-in integration in the ODC, we have the REST APIs. So where this REST APIs is, for example, we have a data that is provided by the client or by the external resources. They do not want to share us with their databases. They just want to share their data, and they also want that there should be some security while providing that data. So what they do generally, they provide the data in form of REST APIs. So while integrating our application to the external REST APIs, we have to follow the things that they want to do for us, like providing the authentication, providing the keys. These type of security linkings are there when we want to consume the REST API. Now, what are the advantages here? While acquiring the data from their databases, we save space in our ODC or in our application development time. Also, we are focused on providing the functionality rather than on keeping the data. So that are the some advantages those are given by the built-in integration. On the other hand, when it comes to the extension, ODC provides us the extension. Now, the word here suggests that extension means we are extending our application with the functionalities, with the data that is present into the another organization, which is not the part of our organization. So here we are saving some space, or we can saving the time that is required to redevelop the code that is already present. So these comes under the extension, where we have two options to use the external databases, and another was the .NET C# code that we can integrate with our application. Now, going into detail with the built-in integration, you can see that if you have done something like this into the O11, the base is the same. There are few changes that are with the ODC one. When we are going to consume a REST API, at the first we see some dialog which allows us to select a single method or multiple method. Now, what is mean by that? If I have a specific requirement to get the data, if I have a specific requirement to write or post the data into the client space, so at that time, if there is only single method and in a single call, I want to perform a single functionality. So at that time, I will choose the single method. But on the other hand, if I want to perform multiple operations like getting the data, deleting, updating, or what you can say, having the multiple functionalities in a single consume calls, at that time I will use the multiple method. So here in REST API, what advantages it provides? A REST API provides the faster integration. As I have told already, that we need not to worry about storing the data or to manage the data. What we focus on is to manipulate the data, and we're gonna provide the functionalities in ODC that how we can manipulate the data. So it saves lot much time on our side. So ultimately, if we are saving the time, the integration and the development is going on a faster way. The ODC portal as a centralized configuration manager. In the previous session of Masterclass, you have seen that we have a ODC portal, which is a single point where we can manage multiple applications in a single point or on a single space. Previously, when it was the O11, at that time we have to use the lifetime, we have to use the user manager tool, we have to use the service center, service studio. So these type of things, multiple, though depending upon to the functions or the task that we want to perform, the configuration that we require. So we have a multiple places to handle at once. But when it comes to the ODC, we have a single point of not contact, but single place where we can manage all these things. So where that we gonna manage it. Next to it, if I'm going to integrate my application with REST API, when I have selected a method, like here in this diagram, you can see that we have a get method. We have to provide the URL. If there are some parameters to it, we must provide the parameter in the test tab. As you can see that there are three tabs, that is the body, header, and test. So if we want to have some data that is required from the other side in the form of REST API, will provide the URL that is required for that one. And to check the particular data or to create the structure for that data, we will go to the test tab. For example, here you can see that I have provided it. When I go to the test tab, I will click on that and it gives me some response. And when it comes to the response, OutSystems gives us a, what we can say, best thing, that if I have to utilize the data in my application, I will click onto the copy to response. Now, what copy to response does for us, it creates the structure that is matching with the response. So it saves a lot much time. It also decreases the errors. Those can be happen when we are matching the structure that is manually created by the developer and the data that is coming from the external side. So here, copy to response is the what we can say a best functionality that is provided by the OutSystem. We have a specific hands-on for that, so do not worry about how to handle it. But that is provided by the OutSystem that we want to discuss at here. Now, this diagram shows that if I'm using the previous URL, which gives us the response, OutSystem automatically creates the matching structure to it. You can see that Expert Mobile OutSystem is the REST API that we are consuming here, and the Get Company Info response is the structure created by the ODC for us, which has the matching fields to it. If we go to the back, you can see that the identifier, city, company name, contact name, relationship, these type of things, those are the part of the structure are created by the ODC to us. So this is what an advantage for us when we are utilizing or consuming some REST API in our application. Now here you can see how we can utilize those REST API. So in this diagram, you can see that we are getting the data from other sources in one of the screen, and through that one, I can take the data from the external world through the REST APIs and I can utilize it. Now here also, we can see or we can have an emphasis on integrate faster. The out system generates methods and structure needed to use the external system. I'm going to show you how it is going to be created. We just have to configure the URL depending upon to the parameters those are required. Also, the REST APIs consuming when we are consuming the REST API, it is very easy to use the application logic. We have to focus on the application logic, easy to bring developers up to the speed in any project. When I was working to some of the project where I was consuming the REST APIs in different technologies, at that time I have to focus on how or which type of data is coming from the REST APIs. I have to create manually the structure for it. Also, keeping in the mind what data type I must select depending upon to the data that is coming from the REST API. But here In ODC, what we are getting a structure that is matching created by the ODC for us. So it just keeps my mind focused on the developing the functionality that we have to manipulate through our application. So ultimately, it is increasing the development speed, and integration is going to be on the faster way. Now, when it comes to the custom extension, we have some common scenarios where we can use the .NET code as the action and supporting complex structure. I am repetitively calling it as the functionality. Those are not part of our application, but those are written into the .NET and we can utilize it. So definitely we need to integrate our application to that one. Also, we have external databases. Those are present into the client, what we can say, place, and we just want to utilize that database. They do not want to share the data with us directly. They are just giving us the database connection to us, and we can utilize that database connection to manipulate that data. So these type of things can be done using the integrations to us. Now here, when we are talking about the .NET integrated development environment, this is the image that is showing through the ODC portal, where into the external logic tab, when we go to this one, we can create these type of integrations to the .NET environment, and that are going to be advantageous for us. Now, while creating the .NET integrated development environment or to the integration with the .NET, what requirement is? The needed is to edit and compile C#.NET code through this integration. It allows developer to extend the platform. Now, what is the meaning of that? Consider a case where I have 4 to 5 functionalities which is having a larger code which is already written into the .NET, and I do not want to convert it from .NET to the low code platform in ODC. I just want to utilize that one, which is ultimately saving the time for developing it to rewriting it, and also it is not having any worry in my mind as a developer when I am just using it rather than writing it. So it gives me an extension, or my application is extending ODC to .NET, means I'm increasing, I'm extending the functionality of my application. That is why we are calling it as the extension. Now, what happening is here, we can use any .NET IDE for the development of this thing, like Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, JetBrains Rider. These type of IDE can be utilized, where ID is automatically detected by the ODC portal. When we are integrating to the .NET code, C# code, the ID is automatically detected by the ODC. When we were working as the O11, whenever I'm creating the integration by the Integration Studio, when I click to compile, it automatically takes me to the Visual Studio that is installed and that is configured to the Integration Studio. So I need not to worry linking to it. So these type of functionality, these type of advantages that we got through the ODC also. Code compiled by the ODC portal. The code is going to be compiled by here, so it takes time when you are compiling the code. Now here, the word compiles or the compilation is required as we are extending our application with the .NET code. We must have a common logic, or we must compile. Compile means conversion from one part to another, or one type to another type. So obviously, if the ODC or the out system has its own type of code, that should be converted to match with the code that is written into the .NET. So whenever we are compiling or we are integrating with the logic that is developed in the .NET, it should be get compiled and it should get integrated with the code that we have written into the ODC. So here the compilation is the important part. Developers don't need to understand the underlying code to use external logic. As I told earlier, we need not to worry about the code that is going to be or that is already written into the .NET by the previous developer, or which is present into the previous organization. I have to just understand what output that code gives us and what are the requirement to provide for that code. So ultimately, I'm not worrying about rewriting the code. So those are the advantages when it comes to the .NET integration with the ODC application. Now here, The next part that comes under the database connection, if I want to connect my application to the external database, where I need the ODC portal to create the connection, and through the creating the connection, I can interlink my application to the external databases. Those are provided or those are supported by the ODC. We're gonna see which type of databases supported by the ODC. So I have to create the connection. Now here connection is a interlinking between the external data source and the ODC application. So we must have a common link between them, and that is provided by this connection. The connection is a way to communicate between the external database, where we are going to provide the URL, where we are going to provide or we are configuring how data is going to be managed, like specifying or utilizing the null values from the database and how we are importing to our ODC database, these type of thing, or whenever we are utilizing it, how we gonna manage those null values. So these type of configurations are going to be set through the connection. Also through connection we can say that out of 10 entities or out of 10 tables from the database, I just want to use two tables. So these type of configuration that can be managed through the database connection, which is available under ODC portal. Now when I'm talking about the database connection, the connection strings are there that require the username and password, some database URL, number, name of the database. So these type of things that we wanna set up through this one. Yeah, so the this diagram gives an idea of which type of databases or providers those are supported by the ODC. So here we can see that the Oracle, PostgreSQL, after that SQL Server, SAP, these type of databases those are supported by the ODC portal. Now here we're gonna see in actual hands-on or demo how we can do that one. So rather than going into the detail, we'll proceed. External logic, we have seen this, how it is going to be look like into the ODC portal. We're gonna see this. Yeah, the important factor here, the private gateways. Now when we are discussing about the integration, as I am repetitively calling external space or external logic, these type of things which are not part of our infrastructure. So at that time, if I have a data which is not part of ODC one, or the not part of the cloud that is supported by ODC, but still I want to utilize that data, how I can manage that one? So the answer is the private gateways. The private gateway is an advanced, secure, and a cloud native alternative to traditional VPN, designed to connect the cloud application to provide resources with greater flexibility, scalability, and security. Now here, rather than explaining these points, I want to take you to the diagram. This is giving you an idea. Now at the outer box you can see that this is the outer out system developer cloud, which is in the runtime, which has two ways, that is the production one and the testing one. At the top you can see that there are three applications which are connected to this private gateway. At the center you can see that one, which is has HTTP or TCP, these type of way to connect to the private gateways. Now here the important factor is that we are having this security like HTTPS, which is the somewhat compare as compared to the HTTP, which is very secure when we are passing the data from one place to another through this protocol. And the important factor here is the firewall. Now here, when we are discussing with the firewall, at the top, you can see that the customer on-premises data center. Now, what is mean by that? If I have a data center in my premises, how I can share my data to the cloud, or what we can say the ODC. So here, when it comes to allowing the data center to be utilized by the ODC, you can see that there is a firewall, also there is a cloud connector and a private gateway. So while creating these private gateway, we are allowing to share our data to the ODC, which is having very secure way to provide our data. Now what we can share through is the API one, the SMTP server, these type of things that we can share, the data that we can share through these terminologies. In the another one, that is in the test format, we can see that we have two applications, and a similar way we can share the data. But here, the important part here to focus is that it is the private AWS cloud, and the another one that we have saw is the on-premises data center. So we can share our AWS cloud data to the ODC while testing our application through the private gateway. Now, what are the advantages when it comes to the private gateways, and what are the two types? First is the private gateway. Now, what advantages gives us? It is the server component hosted and managed by the out system. You can see that this is the OutSystem Developer Cloud where the private gateway is present. It is not present in our premises or in AWS Cloud. Means the private gateway allowing us to utilize or to share our data in a secured way. There is instance of a server gateway for each stage in your organization. Means for a testing environment also and in production also. By default, a private gateway is inactive and you have to activate in ODC portal. So at the bottom diagram, you can see that if we have a private gateway which is by default is inactive, we have to activate it by using the ODC portal. Then and then we can utilize the, or we can allowing our data center or our data to be utilized by the ODC. The next important part when we are having these private gateway is the cloud connector. Now, what this cloud connector is, when we go back to this once again to diagram, we can see that the cloud connector is present in our data premises. So this is obviously going to manage by us. So we can use the configuration generated for activating a private gateway to run Cloud Connect on system in your private network. Obviously, if it is present in our premises, you can say that this is the greater security provided by our side to our data when it is going to be utilized on the ODC one. Our application connects to endpoints through the secure tunnel established between the endpoints and the private gateway. Once again, if I want to show you, you can see that the cloud connector and private gateway is connecting, and our data or our resources are going to be shared with ODC through this secure channel. The cloud connector requires only outbound access to the internet in the private network in which it's running. Yeah, so these are some advantages when it comes to the private gate instead of virtual private network. So it provides a fine-tune control over what data is accessible. You can control the ingress while not exposing any private endpoint. So we have a total control while we are exposing our data to the ODC one. It is highly flexible and configurable. For example, it supports connecting to your private endpoint hosted in multi-tenant, multi-zone, and multi-region environment. If we have our data centers at multiple locations, we can create those multiple locations, and for each location and for each endpoint, we can provide the security. The strong scaling and failover capability. Scaling means what? If the requirement for our application increases on time, runtime, so it scales itself by the ODC one, as we are all aware about. It is the cloud native platform. So depending upon to the requests that are coming to our application, it scale ups the application on the cloud. So it gives us the advantage over older type of application development environments. Application and their data remained isolated, as we saw in the diagram. Our data center or our premises are separate other than the cloud, so it is isolated, so we can say that it is very secure. The last important part here is to the traffic and requests are unidirectional. Okay, once again I want you to take to this diagram. You can see that this is unidirectional. Okay, means we are sharing our data, our cloud, private AWS cloud to the ODC one. Nothing is coming back to, or nothing is going to take data from our side. We are sharing the data. The ODC is going to, ODC application is going to manage this data. So that is what a secured way to integrate or to provide our data to the external one. So that is all with the private gateways when it comes to comparing to the VPN one. Yeah, any questions, guys, with this theory part? We have a separate session after this to have a hands-on related to this. If you want to ask anything, you can go for it. If not, then can we lead for the demo?
Question on the Q&A.
Guys, I'm not getting any response. So, okay.
Hello, Pramod, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can we
Yeah,
lead for demo?
there are two questions in the Q&A.
Okay,
Can you
not
open
a,
the Q&A section?
okay. What is the difference between O11 REST API and ODC REST API? There is not that much bigger difference when it comes to the REST APIs. Those are provided by the O11 and ODC REST APIs. Only I can say that the ODC one is somewhat compared to more secure as compared to O11. For the built-in integration, you are only talking about REST API. Does no SOAP integration is existing in ODC till now. As we can see that the ODC is the growing platform. Maybe they are working on the SOAP or they are not finding it to be added into the ODC one. Till now, it is not available. Yeah. So, Srilakshmi, can we go for the demo?
Yes, yes, please.
Thank you. Please allow me to set up some changes at my end.
Sure.
Is my screen is visible? Yeah, looks like.
Yes,
So I am in the, let me change something. So I am in the ODC studio opening one of the application in which we can test for the REST APIs and for the database connection. Definitely for the database connection, we have to visit to the ODC portal. So first of all, we'll complete the REST API integration, which is I can say that very similar to what we did in O11, but we complete that one first, and after that will lead to the database connection to utilize the database. Those are not part of our. So I'm creating one of the screen here. Now for the ODC related REST APIs, you can see that when I go to this integration, we are not having any SOAP here. So I think you got your answer with this demo. Now, when it comes to the, I hope my screen is visible. Yeah, thank you. So in the rest, we have expose and consume. For this particular demo, we are only consuming an REST API for which a URL is present at my side. So when we go to the consuming REST API means we want to get the data from the external world, which is shared by them through the REST APIs, and we just want to use that data in our application. So for that one, we'll go to the consume REST API. Here we have two options, As discussed earlier, if I have a single method like getting the data, or I just want to update or delete the data in a single call, and that I will use the single method. And in the one REST API, if we want to handle multiple methods, those are supported by the REST API provider. At that time, I will use the multiple method. For this instance, we are going with the single method. Now, when I click to this one, it gives us me the dialog where I can provide the URL and the method that we want to utilize. Those are supported by the external word or the REST API provider. I can select from here. For this instance, we are just want to get the data. So I'm selecting the get method, and into this dialog, I have a space where I can specify the URL. So I have a URL with me. You can see that in this URL, I have already mentioned the company name and the maximum result. Here, if you want to take the parameters from the user, which company name he or she wants to provide and what maximum results they want to get out of it, so we can add the parameters to it. Now coming to here in the headers, when it comes to header, we can provide the headers like authorization, accept language, and content type. So these type of going to be set up at here based on the values that we want to provide. Right now, we are not going with any of that. So I'm providing the URL. Going to the text tab. In the text tab, if we have a basic authentication that is required, so we'll provide the username and password for that one. Right now we do not have anything to it, so I'm going to click on the test. Now here you can see that the copy to response is not enabled for us for this instance. So when I click on test, if the URL is correct, then we'll get some data, and with that data we have the type, we have the cache control, like of configurations things that are shown under this REST API provider. Now, this copy to response body, what it does for us, when we go to the data tab, right now I cannot go into it. So here in the structure one, whatever the data structure that is followed by the response of this REST API is automatically created to us by the out system, or you can say into the ODC one. So what it gives, it saves a lot of time to utilize the data that is coming from the REST API provider. So I'm going to create here copy to response. So you can see that it is automatically understand data in a proper way. And also you can see that the copy to response body is from the bottom. And when I go to finish, if we go to the structure, you can see that the name of the REST API provider or the URL is having created one structure. Into this structure, we got the get company info response name for the structure. This is the name of the method expert mobile out system. And in this structure, you can see that it created 5 attributes which are having different data types and also the labels to it. Based on the data that we got through the response, it converted or it created the structure attribute data type. So that is the biggest advantage that I found when it dealing with the REST APIs. So here we got the method. Now if I want to utilize this data in my application, for this demo we just want to get the data from the external one and just want to show it. So for that one, I'm going back to the screen, and here I want to have a 2 columns. By using the right click, you can see that we have option called fetch data from other sources, because we are getting the data not from database but through the REST APIs. So this is what the data action for us, and all we are aware about the advantage of data action. It is the asynchronous way to fetch the data, so our application is not going to wait to complete the other request from the server, so which is giving us an advantage over it. So when I get the data from other sources, it comes with a one output parameter, that is out1. Definitely we can rename this data action and this output parameter. So I'm renaming it as the get info, and naming this variable as info. Now obviously I am not setting up the data type to the text, because what we have to do is, in the REST API, you can see that one method is added under the expert mobile out system, which is having the name as get company info. And when we saw the output or the data that is coming from this REST API, it is having the data type as the get company information response list. So we must set this data type to the out parameter that is created under the data action. So for that one, we are going to this company information, selecting the list as it is the structure. We are at the structure list, and here you can see that get company information response, that is the structure created by the ODC for us when we were selecting the REST API. Now we set up these output type to the list one. Now the important part is remain. So I will go to this one and call this method, which is comes under the REST API when we were consuming it. We are calling this method. So obviously after calling this method, some data is coming to our application. So we must store that data in the output parameter that is created under the data action. Sorry for. So I am dragging and dropping this company information. As soon as I drag and drop, it is asking me which type of data you want to store or which you want to assign. So when I will go to this, obviously it is matching with the output of the get company information method. So in the suggestion, we are getting that one. So that is what how we can get the data from the external in a external world in a form of REST API. Now we got the data. If I want to show this data on my screen, what I can do is I'm selecting this output variable and dropping into the left column. So you can see that as soon as I drop, this is how we are getting the data. Now to test it, I must publish this ODC application. So it will take some time, and all we are aware about it as it is the cloud based development. So our code that we have changed is going to be deployed, or it is going to be saved onto the cloud. It is going to be compiled, convert the respected things into the proper way onto the cloud. The part here is to focus generating and compiling optimized code and data when it is going to be compiled onto the cloud. So yeah, one more thing I miss. Let me allow it to available for everyone. If we have some data to share from our application, so we can expose that data through the REST APIs to the external world, that is also available. You can see that the data is not part of our application, but still we are getting the data from the external world. Now here only 5 records are displayed, because while entering the URL I have set the company name and the maximum records as set to 5. That's why it is getting the 5 records only. So yeah, this is what with the REST APIs demo. Do you have any question related to this, guys? Okay, if you have any question, please mention into the question Q&A. Uh, so we'll head to the database connection that we can made with the external databases. So when we are talking about the database connection, I need to go to the ODC portal. You can see that this is one of the ODC portal, and on the left side you will able to see the connection tab. While creating the connection, we have to while creating the connection. So as soon as the connection tab or the connection section is open, you can see that at the right top we have a create connection button. When I click the create connection button, it gives us the options. Those are supported by the ODC. Specifically for this particular hands-on, I am selecting the SQL server. I have a details of the SQL server connection. So I'm going with that. If you have any testing database or if you have a database connection related information, so you can select according to that. So by clicking confirm, it will take us to the tab or the section where we can set up the connection name. We can provide the description of that connection. So here I am giving the connection name as the I can provide the description if I want to give it that. Now, while setting up the stage, if you are using this database connection for a development stage or production stage, you can specify the detail according to that one. Right now I do not have those credentials or those level accessibility, so I can go with the development one. So for the username, I am providing the username that is available. So I'm just copying. Right. Now the important part here is to provide the server which is under this connection, the port from which you are going to have this database, the name of the database. If you are having any additional parameters, those are required to get the database connection complete or which by the service provider. So you must pass at here. Now, before proceeding further, we must test this connection. Now, before click on test connection, I want to discuss on this. Override database null values and keep database null values. Now, what is mean by that? The description is given at the bottom. The database null read as the values in the table below. These values will be returned back to the external database. Overwriting the null values means what we are going to do is we are just overwriting the values into the database, and if we want to keep the database null values as it is in our database or in our place, at that time you will use the keep database null. So what it is going to do is it is keeping the null values as it is. So for this instance we are utilizing or we are setting up the default one that is there. So when I click on test connection, if everything is correct, then we are getting the test connection successful message. Right now we are getting some issue. Let me provide the parameters, or if I'm making some mistake to it. Yeah. So I have to provide the additional parameter that is test server certificate is equal to true. After providing it, you can see that the test connection was successfully there. And after that, I can click on save. So what it will do, it will create a database connection for me. Previously, when we were doing this thing into the O11, at that an extension application or module is created, and we have to go to manage dependency, and we have to connect with the extension module. The name and all those things are given by the out system at the end of creating the connection. So these things we need to do, but as we are all aware about here in ODC we don't have any modules, so we can use this database connection directly. How to do that one we'll see. Now in this list we can see that the recently created database connection is there. Oh, one one thing I miss at there. The entities I have not selected. I have creation now, going back to there and select the entities. So for this instance, I'm selecting like orders, products, invoices, customer. Now if I'm clicking here, we can see that you can directly select all the attributes from that one, and if you want to select specific attributes, you can select those. So that can be done also by clicking save. It will update the entities list for that database connection. You can see that 4 entities added successfully. Now it is going to reflect the connection list, and under this connection that we recently created, you can see that the 4 entities are selected. Now this has been updated into the ODC portal. Now how to use this thing in our ODC studio? So for that one, we'll go to the ODC studio at here, and you can see that there is a connection icon is there, which is having name add public elements. It is not something like manage dependency. So from this one, we can utilize the public elements in our application. So going to that, provide the name of the connection that we have used, and here you will find the list of different things. Those are publicly available. Okay, now you have to filter those things. So what you can do is you can go to this one, two drop downs, those are available, and here in this one, if I have a exact name, you can see that out system user group db connection that we recently created. If I select this, it will only show the public elements that comes under this connection. And this is how we can utilize it. I want to utilize all these 4 entities, so I am selecting it. If it has multiple elements through this particular thing, so we can filter those by using the client action, blog, server action, server action, or depending upon to the different types of uh, elements that we want to select. Okay, so right now we have entities only, so I'm selecting it and click on add. So it is adding the elements into my application. Under the data tab, you can see that this is the SQL Server connection that we use, and under this there are 4 entities, those are available. Now going to this, open the main flow. Now I'm dragging and dropping the customers entity on the main flow. You can see that 2 screens are created, that is customer and customer details. Let's go to here. Making at the default screen and publishing for this application. It does not have that much differences when it comes to database connection. The important factor here is to understand when we use the external database through the database connection in O11, we are going to create the connection through the integration builder, or we can use the integration studio for that one, and the output of that thing is the extension module, and we have to club, or we have to use the managed dependencies through the module. So here our application is ready. Let's try to open it. You can see that through the database connection that we have created, we can directly utilize entities. And the one of the great feature of OutSystem or ODC is the scaffolding. We are just dragging and dropping an entity to the main flow, and we got our list and detail screen. So if I'm going to create a particular customer, it will take me to the edit customer, and I can update it through that database connection. So this is how we can utilize the database connection or the external database in our ODC application. That is all with the hands-on. You have any question related to this? Please, you can ask into the question answer. Yeah, with the authentication part, if you have different level of authentication or basic authentication, when it comes to basic authentication, you have to provide the username and password. And if it is going to match, if it is going to successfully test, we can utilize that one. And with some advanced authentication, if you are having the authentication key or some keys, those are provided by the service provider, you have to specify it while creating or where when you are consuming some REST API from the external one. Yes, Rahul, it is something similar to the integration builder, but specifically talking with here, we need not to worry about utilizing the integration builder or integration studio, which is not a part of service studio. We have to install it. But in ODC, we got all these things at a single place, which is called an ODC portal. Yes, you can say that it is the best practices in ODC, but this is the part of curriculum that we were having. It is not only the best practice, but it is the actual utilization when the customer or the client do not want to share their database with us directly. They are just want to share their database connection and want to use their databases with the ODC application. Any other question, guys?
For all the participants over here, so if you have any doubts or clarification needed, you can reach out to Pramod even after the session. So Pramod, you can, if you're comfortable, you can share your mail ID over here in the chat so
Yeah.
that they can reach out to you if they want after the session.
Yes.
And if you are done, I'll
Yeah,
take the
I have
session
done.
forward. Yeah, thank you so much, Pramod. So it was a great informative session, and I hope it was very much useful for all the participants over here to know much more about the advanced topics with the integration and I mean the way you demoed was very good with the external DB and those things. Thank you so much. So with that, we'll move on to the next part. I am going to share my screen again.
Yeah.
Um, yes, my screen is visible again. Okay.
Yes, Sheila.
So, as I mentioned, we have completed two sessions for the masterclass, and this is our last session. And we have already got six winners, out of which I'm Mayur is on the top in both the sessions. So, tech we have got five people, five winners. So, in this session, so we are going to have four winners, fortunately, because the the specialization OCHs we are distributing to 10 winners. So 9 winners will be from the quiz, and one lucky winner will be I'll identify who was more interactive in the sessions, all three sessions, and who were attending the session continuously. So now For the first session, we have three winners: Mayur, Chetan, and Anjani. And so for the session two, again Mayur stays on the top, and Arshid and Sujay Kamath. So congratulations for all of you. And for today's session, let's give chance to others. Even you can participate, but still I'm not going to consider the five of you, so that we will get another four winners, because you are already eligible to have the specialization voucher. Okay, so with that, a quick thing about the Bangalore Art Systems User Group YouTube channel, where you can have a look at all the previous sessions, videos, recordings, so you can refer to it. This is the QR. You can scan it and subscribe, or you can view all the previous sessions which are conducted from Bangalore Art Systems User Group. Okay, I'll take a pause here for 5 minutes. So, as we are doing for all the sessions, your feedback is very much important for us to improve our future sessions for all the participants. Please take a moment and scan the QR code and submit your feedback. And once you are done, type done in the chat. So I'll be pausing the session for 5 minutes, and I'll wait for your feedback. And as soon as you finish the feedback, we will jump into the quiz. So exactly at 4:06, we will start. We have 2 minutes more for submitting your feedback. And don't forget to put done in the chat once you submit. We have 1 more minute, and I don't see any duns in the chat. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so yeah, thank you for all who are submitting the feedback. We will look into your feedback and we'll work upon how we improve the sessions for the future. So with that, let's quickly start our quiz, and I'll stop sharing and share the other window. Okay, so I hope mine is visible again. So yeah, so in this quiz, there is a limitation of 60 players. So anyhow, we have 45 participants for this session. So once I host the quiz, you will be getting a QR code at the top. So you have to scan it and check in for the quiz. And once I start the quiz, you start answering it. So winners will be announced in the same session. So for every question, you will be seeing the progress. Without getting delayed, let's start the quiz. Yes. So here is, and I am going to put the joining link here. Ajit, you just have to scan the QR code over here. There is no app as such. I see 9 members have joined. And let me know if you face any difficulty while joining. And we will start the quiz in another 1 minute. We have 24 disciplines, 26. Okay. So with that, I'm going to start the quiz. So I hope you guys are ready. Okay, still people are joining. So let me wait for 1 more minute and I'll start the quiz at exactly 4:10. Okay. So we have 35 and I don't see any more joining now. So let me start the quiz. Yes. Here is the first question. What is the primary purpose of our systems developer cloud? 3 seconds, 2 seconds. One. Oh, 26 has got the right answers. That is very good. And let's see, Rahul stays at the top and Fazil Siddiq and Sujay. And next, Ajit and Anjali. Let's go for the next question. Which of the following best describes the architecture of ODC? 38%. 13 members have got it correct. Let's see. Mayu stays at the top. Siraj and Vrishab. Okay, let's go for the next. 61% have given the correct answer. That is very good. Okay. Mayur, Ujjwala, and Siddiq. Okay. Which cloud providers are supported by our systems developer cloud for deployment? We have got 19 people answered correctly. Rahul, Sujay, and Siraj at the top now. What feature does ODC leverage to enhance collaboration among development teams? We have got only three. That was a confusing question. Okay. So yeah, Sujay, Teresa, and Rahul stays at the top. We have got 15 members answered correctly. Okay. We have got 18 members answered correct. That's good. We have got 16 members answered the correct answer. We have got only two more questions. Let's see who will be the winner of our last session of Masterclass. That's very good. This is 23. Teresa, Siraj, and Fasi Siddiq stays at the top. We have got the last question now. Okay, let's see the final list of winners. Nimish, Sujay, and Fasi Siddiq. Congratulations for all of you. And once again, I'm repeating, Sujay, you will not be eligible to win the prize. I mean, you are already eligible in the second session, so I'll be considering the fourth one. So once again, congratulations for all of you here. Hope you have enjoyed the session. And to announce the fourth winner, it is Teresa. So congratulations, Teresa, Nimish, and Mohammad Fazi Siddiq. Hope you guys enjoyed our last session for the masterclass. And thank you all for joining. And I'll be sending the email for all of you, for all the winners of our masterclass. And if you have got any questions, you can always reach out to me. And regarding to this session, if you want, you can reach out to Pramod. And thank you all.